I want it back. Give it back. I want it back. Give it back. I want it back. Now you know what I'm talking about.
Okay, water with your bug out bags. I personally have 3 different ways of carrying the water in my bug out bag. All of them are within the realm of lightweight. Everything to do with the get home bag, I mean, no matter what with your bug out bags, you really should consider weight, because obviously you're going to be carrying it, and that will also influence what kind of pack you would buy. Where you have internal frame, external frames, packs, but we'll get into that further into the series here. But you want to consider whatever is the most lightweight and durable. The Nalgene water bottles are excellent for a get-home bag, as well as the plastic army-style canteens that I will show you in a second. But that's part of the reason why you want at least 3 different ways of carrying your water, is the same concept as we're going to show and as I use for my fire tinder. My fire tinder, I actually have more than 3 ways to start fires, but I store them in 3 different locations, just in case one part gets compromised. I have 2 other areas where it might not have been compromised. Now the water, same thing. The Nalgene now, that usually is not seen on my pack, nor is there any room to put it inside. But it's usually in my vehicle, and I usually carry it into my main office if I have to. If I know I'm going to be there for the majority of the day, I always have it very close by. And what you want to do if you work in an office specifically, what I do is I make note where all the water fountains are, which are all gravity fed in my work. And that's the very first place I'm going to beeline if something major happens. And this is the thing, I've basically told my wife, if any type of major terrorist event happens in New York City, such as in the realm of like 9/11 or some major problem, like even with the Boston bombing, I made sure she paid attention to see if any other bombings had started to happen anywhere else, to show any form of coordination of an attack. That's the one thing I marveled with September 11th afterwards, and I was one of the many people where you just watched it like it didn't really, it bothered me, but I just went about my work when I should have went immediately home. And that's the thing. The very first thing that should be on your agenda when you're in a situation where you have to bug out is to fill your containers. Fill them immediately. I don't have them filled with water generally because of weight, carrying it around. The only one that I usually have filled is the canteen within the pack. Then I have the other water sources, which I'm going to show in a minute. So these are just ideas to throw out there. Make sure they're durable, make sure they're lightweight, like these type of food grade plastics. And that's it. Let's go into some other examples. Now, I keep a couple of these emergency drinking waters. Part of the reason why is it's not really affected by, by heat or anything of that matter, and it's durable as all heck. I always thought that they were going to explode in my my bag, because of all the stuff I sometimes put, but it is very resilient, and it's filled up with enough water where even when it gets too cold and it expands, it won't bust the bag. So these are really good water containers to have. Try to avoid any glass containers, glass bottles. I know there's a lot of things with the plastic water bottles, might give, when it heats up, has like some kind of cancerous carcinogens from the plastic, but I usually keep at least one bottled water plus a couple of these, like about 3 to 4 of these packed inside. Your regular run-of-the-mill canteen. Many people say steel is the way to go. I wanted to keep things light, so I kept with the plastic. Part of the reason why I say using a steel one, you can actually put it right onto your cooking flame or stove, and you can cook right on it, which is true. But what I have is an attachment that I got from canteenstove.com, and this is a cup that actually fits perfectly in my, with my canteen. And then I actually have a stove that actually fits right over that. And this is a stove that you would use to build a flame in the back, and it's all self-contained. Now, this is one of my newer ones. I've had a couple of these stoves, and what's cool about it is it has the raised edges. It has a lot of air holes, but it is challenging to cook with it, and get like a rolling boil, which is the test. That's what you want to try to do. Whatever cooking method you have, you want to be able to make water go into that rolling boil, so you have the ability to cook your food and have the ability to make your water potable. So once again, canteenshop.com. They have a lot of really good stuff in there too, so I highly recommend. But I'm going to go into cooking methods. I always have backups for my backups. It's one thing, but we'll go into cooking once we're done with the. Next, I have water purification tablets. It should be in every bug out bag, and I have this. It's basically you stick this straw. You have a little charcoal filter in there. Stick the straw in, and you can literally drink water right out of your water source. Now, there's something tricky about these, and a lot of people don't know, and you got to pay attention. I've had a couple of friends of mine get pretty sick using these because they used them multiple times. To be honest with you, once I've used this once, I'm probably not going to use it again, because I've seen friends of mine used it a couple of times and got pretty sick or after the 3rd or 4th time, especially if they used it and put it away and then used it at a later date. I don't know why, but that just gave me an alarm there that, you know what, I'm only going to use this when I have to. Filtration side, I don't really focus on as much because I tend to have plenty of drinking water with me. But still, you have to have filtration, because God forbid something gets compromised, one of your water sources get compromised, you knock over your canteen or whatever, you always have other sources. And like I said, if any major disaster, these get filled up immediately, right away. And I have at least 3 different sources of the water, actually 4. I have the two containers. I have several of these, 4 of these inside my pack, and 2 different forms of water filtration. This being the smaller of the version. This is more for as I'm on the go and I don't really want to stop at all, but I'm really thirsty and I don't want to, it just gives a little bit more dexterity in your plan. That's really all it does. Also, as an extra energy kick, I have this electrolyte powered hydration that I got to add to water. It's like basically additives to your water to just give it extra nutrients and energy. And I have this also to go with kind of the food and water prep. So shelter. Now this changes. Sometimes I have the blizzard suit in my pack during the winter. If you just look online, look for blizzard bivy sack or whatever, you'll find it. I'll show that in the video for the more involved bug out bag. That's usually an example of an item I'll have that I'll change up versus winter and summer. And that would accompany this shelter. Now what I do is I get a nylon tent. It's better to me. It's more, if you notice, it's more silent. So if I'm trying to keep a low profile, It's a good camo type color without being camo, and it has the tie holes on the side. And I usually, for my shelter, for this bag, I tend to have bank line, because it's a little easier to tie off with. It's just as strong as paracord, and it leaves a lot more room in my pack. That's probably, I have some paracord, but not a whole lot. I use mostly this in this particular pack because I want to save in space. And also with the shelter, I have these stakes, which I would use to, bang into the ground to secure the tarp or tent for shelter. So my shelter system, I got this. This is a nylon tarp by Equinox. They're a little pricey, but it's the same type of material you'd have in a tent. This is what I have in my shelter in the summer, and this is a Soul survival bivy, which is basically kind of like a let's see, I'm not going to take the whole thing out. It's kind of like almost like a survival blanket type thing that you crawl inside of, that you would use as like a little sleeping bag, and it radiates your heat back. And that's for any type of extreme situation in the summer, if it's kind of cold that day or if it's raining or whatever. It's just some added extra protection. I can pull it over my head, try to get away from the bugs and mosquitoes or whatever. And that added with this shelter. This is pretty much mostly what I have in the pack. It's just this 3,600 emergency food rations. It'd be enough to get me home. I mean, I'm only about 30 miles away, give or take, in any circumstance. I'm usually only that distance away. And this would be enough to get me home. I usually have 2 as well, but they change up because I'll eat them. Some energy bars. I usually have about 3 energy bars, and sometimes, give or take, a couple of pieces of beef jerky, and that's it for food. I don't really go crazy. The most focus I have is water, because water is going to be the most important thing as far as getting back to my home. And that's the whole point in this bag. It's the get home bag. So I don't want to go crazy, and this takes up, food packages take up a lot of space. Like I said, my whole goal is to get home as soon as possible. So I give, this is something I can just eat and go. I don't want to have to worry about cooking or anything. If I have to boil water for drinking, that's part of the reason why I have the means to do so. And that's where we'll go into our cooking or boiling type of methods. I have a plastic spork for food. It's got the spoon, fork. I went with the plastic for weight reasons. You can also get titanium, and it even has a little cutting implement here. You can see. So it's just pretty, and it's pretty durable. These things last for a long time, especially these particular type. These are the ones you'd get like at REI. This one's by Light My Fire. Okay. Okay, yeah. Anyway, as we move on.